Okay, we are streaming live, and it's good to have you. Stefan Maya is my name over here at the Added Souls studio. We're in the AM, aren't we? 8 a.m. That's okay. I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, so my internal clock. I never have an alarm clock. I always have an internal clock that just says, "Hey, time to wakey," and I wakey. And, you go through the process of things. Got to wash up, so on and so forth. Well, here we are. Cheers. I'm drinking coffee. It's the decaf kind. I know. I'm a crazy heathen. Burn me alive. Well, the reason I'm drinking decaf is because, well, I've done too much damage to myself in my prior life, I suppose, and I just can't drink the caffeinated kind now. It messes around, flutters my heart, gives me like gut issues, if you will. I don't know. But I love the taste. I love the taste of coffee and a bit of creamer, not too much, just a taste, a sprinkle, if you will, in there, to give it a zing of sweet, if you will. But I love the taste of the coffee bean itself. So, cheers. Mm. Oh man, that's good. Yummy, yummy. I think it's like a drop of maple maple. Oh, now I've creamer. There we go, maple creamer. My wife was kind enough to bring it to me. I love her so. Love. That's the thing. That's the deal. It's our first episode in this new season. We've been away for a bit, several months, maybe 3, 4 months. Um, we were traveling, obviously. We went stateside for a while there and had some speaking engagements. That went wonderful. And then we had some preparation here on the property and the various things, the responsibilities that need to take place over here. So we took care of that. We had the holidays, no doubt. And yeah, the East Coast Church of Christ continues to flourish. I'm just trying to keep up with it, I'm just trying to keep up with it. We are trying to keep up with it best we can through God's grace, His providence, His work, blessing us with the opportunity to participate as servants in His work. And it's just doing very well. The East Coast congregation, of course, was established here, or birthed, or planted, whichever word you want to utilize, back in May 8th of 2022. And it began with 5 souls, and now we are over 60 plus, and we anticipate by the end of this year 80 to 100. It is very, very encouraging. It's been very encouraging. Well, in the form of its growth, of course, comes from community outreach, community living, Christians living the life they should be living out there in the community, which is attractive to those who seek gospel information. So we've had converts from the community, from all sorts of different religious backgrounds, and that's been encouraging. Some of them find us online. Some of them have been invited by Christians in the church, and so we've seen converts, if you will, being immersed into Christ, converting to Christ from the community, and that's been a blessing. We've also had brethren from various locations who could not find a faithful church to be part of, faithful meaning in accordance to the New Testament. And so some of them moved and came closer and placed their commitment with the East Coast congregation. And some of them migrated from other countries, other locations, seeking a sound congregation and seeking opportunities that were not available to them in other countries, if you will, for the security and safety of their children and things like that. So you kind of take all those wonderful works from all its sides, and what you have is a flourishing, balanced, healthy, growing church that belongs to Christ. East Coast Church of Christ. You can check out the .ca, eastcoastchurchofchrist.ca. It's been a wonderful work for my family, no doubt. Having a congregation you can minister to, you can serve, who are thoughtful, who love you, that's it means something. So that's been warmly welcomed, and we anticipate to continue to work for as long as God sees it fit to do so. And we're blessed. We're truly blessed for it. You can certainly, again, check out the website. You can get in contact with any and all of the members. They'd be more than happy to share faith with you and share the love of the East Coast. It's a balance, right? Love and law and love. You have to have a balanced faith. Some congregations, they really have law down to a science, right? They know the law. They're scholarly with it. They'll charm you in their teaching. They're very educational when it comes to the law portion of the scriptures, and they are how should I say, militant with it. But they have no love. Some of them have no love. They have law, but they have no love. And because they have no love, they find no humility in their character, their behavior. There's no humility there. Though they can teach the law regarding humility very well, they themselves in their behavioral delinquency are not adapting humility. Love, forgiveness, right? Compassion, suffering long, those kind of things are not found in congregations that are solely driven by law. They are typically militant. They are typically heavy-handed. They are divisive most of the times. And they leave no room for conversation or for an equal path in knowledge. They typically have a structure that is similar to the Sanhedrin, if you will. They are typically Pharisaical in nature. You'll find a gatekeeper there who at times is mostly unrighteously confrontational or brash. And so some found that to be, some brethren can recognize that though these locations may know the law and teach the law very well, they are void of love, which doesn't produce any growth. As a matter of fact, it pushes many people in the community away and brings reproach on the name of Christ. And then what happens if you swing the pendulum too far on the other end, which you find in other congregations, is that they have a whole bunch of love going on. You know, they are patient, they are suffering long, they are compassionate, they are humble. They produce a lot of the practices that love describes itself to be, but yet they hold no law. And because they hold no law to the regard and honor it needs to be held, they are in a deficit. And that has them outside the boundaries of the law. And that becomes lawless. So if it's too hard on law without love, they are outside the boundary of law and love, you see. So it has to be balanced. And Jesus spoke of these things. The Bible is just filled with the theme of law and love and how it is to be combined together and well seasoned, and how you and I are to navigate and find that insight, to be the recipients of that wisdom so that we can be balanced, approachable, welcoming, kind, loving, yet courageous and bold with the law. Jesus said, this is the law, and he has commanded us through his majesty's authority, his reign, his kingship, to do it in accordance to how he has instructed us, and we need to do it that way. Now, he wants us to do so with the proper motive of the heart. It's one thing to just do the check mark, and that's, again, found in congregations that are driven by law but aren't balanced with love. And what happens there is they play the... they fall prey to the temptation, if you will, to solidify their conscience, firmly convinced they are right in their own minds by just showing up and just going through that motion. Well, I show up to church and I give to the church and I say amen to the gospel preacher and all these things, and which can be very cunning and deceptive because hate can masquerade itself as love. And if hate or jealousy or unrighteous divisiveness, it can cunningly masquerade itself with the charm of its teaching, because you're like, well, they teach the law very accurately, so therefore they must. Well, no, not necessarily. The Pharisees of the first century, and Jesus pointed this out, by the way, in Matthew chapter 23, verse 1 and following, they're like, they know the law. So when they teach the law and you hear the law, you do the law, because the law comes from a divine mind. But do not follow their behavioral delinquencies. Do not fall prey to their ways. They are wolves in sheep's clothing. They are the gatekeepers. They are the recipients of the woes, if you will. Don't follow their behavioral delinquency. So You can find the Pharisaical kinds who are militant and they can proclaim the law very well, and it can charm you. You can be like, wow, that's so accurate to what the Bible teaches, and that's not the deficit. The deficit is their character. Within their hearts, they have no love. There's no love there. It's about pride and control. They are utilizing the law to keep you subject to their intimidation or flattery or things like that. And we want to, you and I, seeking to have a balance, both law and love. We don't want to fall prey to that category, nor to the category, again, that is too far on the other end, which holds love very well, yet at the deficit and delinquency of lawlessness, right? They are not worshiping in spirit and truth. They are not practicing proper local governance in the assembly. They are not disciplined to that instruction. And so, again, you have to be balanced. And in one's faith, at times, you may find yourself, if you've just converted to Christ, you are a new follower of the Messiah, and you're just starting to learn the scriptures. I mean, you're going to have to go through these moments and either find yourself in a moment where you have to withdraw from delinquency, or basically recognize that you are in a faithful congregation and to remain there and give your commitment to that work in the community. And that at times, can take several seasons, myself included, when I started to follow the Messiah, the Christ, and understand Christianity in its purest format. I mean, I was delinquent and immature in many of my behavioral attributes. I mean, one, because I had just left the Gentile world as a Gentile for decades, living within the excess of the flesh, to now being sober-minded, seeking self-control of my thoughts and my behavior. And it was very immature for many, many years. I'd still fall prey to past temptations, if you will, or I needed course adjustments throughout the years following Jesus. Till this day, I've not attained, the perfect enlightenment or anything by any means. I still have many things to learn, but you can understand that God's grace is there with you. I was never malicious or dishonest. I may have times done things and said things or reacted to things that were not Christ-like, to which, when I matured enough to recognize, I asked forgiveness for, and I do my best not to fall prey to those moments, But sometimes what happens in some brethren and some Christians is they remain within the cavity of delinquency, and it is no longer an ignorance, if you will, found within God's grace and patience, waiting for you to learn. He disciplines us. He loves us. He disciplines us. No, sadly, many of our brethren at times, I don't know if the word many is appropriate, but a number of brethren at times, they fall into a ditch of maliciousness, their pride. They utilize the law, they utilize the gospel with selfish ambitions. And of course, it's a wisdom some of us have come to know in our faith. And the scriptures, of course, are filled with locations teaching us this very fact, that if we aren't balanced, if our soul, our spirit is not genuine and honest and transparent, we fall at risk of eternal destruction. And man, listen, that's a fearful thing, the fear of the Lord, right? I mean, to have the fear of God in your heart, you want to be right with God. You want to be right with God. You and I, we want to be right with God. We want to make it to heaven. We want to bring as many people with us as we can. So it's kind of like, this is one of the locations in the scriptures that is quite common for Christians to go to learn about love is in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And that's what we'll be investigating, you and I, today. Just taking her easy, just mellow, if you will, with it, and permitting ourselves to take the time to learn the message and to be edified, to be encouraged, to be challenged to change where we need to change, and to begin to be very fruitful for our master, to be welcoming, to be approachable. That's our desire, and love is a key component to it. And of course, law would instruct us on the descriptive nature of love in which we must apply in our lives, practical application. And that is a balance. Not only should we be able to understand the description of love and to teach the description of love, but actually, literally, apply it to our lives. And that's where the deficit is found on those who are solely in function of the law for selfish gain, for malicious intent. And we are called to withdraw from such. Brethren, God will take care of them. God will, in his disciplinary actions, his judgments, will take care of those situations and bring forth his justice in his due time. And we also don't want to be swung on the other side, where we do accept and embrace love, but not within the confines or the boundaries of its instruction and its permissibilities. And therein again, a branch that we withdraw from and seek to be in the middle, in the narrow path. Right? We don't want to fall on the ditch on the right side. We don't want to fall on the ditch on the left side. We want to be on that narrow gate. The narrow gate takes sacrifice. It takes sacrifice from us to do what's right. And sometimes, we will lose things we hold dear to, and sometimes we'll gain stuff that we are just so thankful to God for. It's a journey. It's a path. But if our heart is true and sincere, and we are in accordance to his law and love, you and I have hope, and we have hope to persevere, and we need it so desperately in our current time. Our current time is uncertain, isn't it? It is uncertain. We are currently, once again, in the history of humanity, living through a shift of power. And it will either go towards or continue going further deep into the lunacy of lawlessness, and those who promote it, those who encourage it, those who endorse, support, and vote for it. We will remain and even deepen ourselves within the oubliette of oppression and tyranny, or, as we once again in history find the fork in the road, find ourselves embracing once again liberation, liberty, independence, freedom, and the policies and documents of a governing establishment that is created by the people for the people, and the people are a people who honor and respect Christian principles and values. So those are the two paths we face once again. And if you will, I've been proclaiming on Sunday morning sermon sessions through the book of Exodus. Only its opening chapters. We actually concluded our sessions in Exodus, but here is something that kept in theme, producing itself apparent to all of us as the words of God were being proclaimed. The Hebrew people, physical Israel, were in a profound tyranny. They were oppressed by Egyptian governing powers. Pharaoh, to his loyalists, to his policies, they would oppress the Hebrew people. And this took place for centuries. And you can just imagine how, as a people, human beings like you and I would have concerning conversations in the household, in the location in which they would lodge. Between husband and wife and children, they would have profound anxiety and doubts about the future. Some would fall prey to the routine, and that is no doubt psychological in so many ways, because you fall prey to the oppression in such a fashion that you tend to think it normalcy. you've been oppressed for so long and it is now ancestral that you think it to be normal. You wouldn't know the difference. Similar to if you were, for instance, born and raised in a corrupt congregation with corrupt men leading, filled with hate and jealousy and divisiveness, and again, perhaps upright with the law, knowing the law very well, proclaiming the law very well, yet in deficit with character flaw. Well, you might never know the difference and become adapted to that location that is toxic, that is hateful. It never grows, it never sows, it never grows, it never produces anything, and it always depletes. It comes to its final end. Well, you may in your mind believe that to be in normalcy of a Christian in a church that is filled with such things. It isn't, but you may think it's such. Maybe another illustration. Perhaps, right, a girl or a boy always found in a toxic relationship. A girl more so often perhaps the recipient of verbal abuse, mental abuse, or even physical abuse from a boyfriend. She finally escapes from that boyfriend, took many years, she's gone through a lot of abuse. She turns around and finds herself in another relationship with another boy who's abusive. Why does she keep doing that? Why do we keep telling her, hey, listen, stop the cycle, readjust your path in life? You continuously find yourself in relationships where the individual is abusing you. Why do you keep doing that? It's a system of acceptance. And I know there's a word for it psychologically. I can't think of it at this time. You may know it. If so, go ahead and share it. But it's as if you want to continue to remain within that oppression. It's the degenerate gambler. The degenerate gambler is not about the win. He finds the win a depressing moment. He needs to continue to feed the machine with his finances. You become addicted to the loss. You become addicted to the loss. You become addicted to a toxic relationship. So at times that happens. No? Really? Why would the Hebrew nation, physical Israel, seek to go back to Egypt once they had been liberated? You know it. See, it's a real thing. Well, you and I, we have to remain independent of thought, accountable to God, and free from those snares, those temptations. It is a necessity for our survival in our faith towards God. So a balance, law and love. And we are currently, once again, in our history of humanity, at a time where we are going to run headlong towards the slaughter, which sadly it seems our countrymen, completely misguided within the lunacy of evil men, want to embrace death and hate, or God's power and will, through the agency of his providence, will govern the physical vessels and leaders of our current time to bring us forth in an age or season of liberation and freedom and independence, once again embracing what we had. Someone might try to argue that, but there's really no arguing against it. We currently live in a time now where our governing powers are lawless, they are godless, and they are seeking to make the scriptures quote-unquote illegal. And so there needs to be a change if we are going to remain in peace in our communities and proclaim the word without fear of being apprehended and jailed and murdered. And we don't need to go back through. We don't need to go through that. Through the liberty of Christ, he permits us to remain in a location and to adapt a location in a governing power that has us living in peace to proclaim the word of God. You see, some brethren are so misguided in their thoughts, they think it virtuous to invoke, once again, a Roman oppression and to become martyrs. No, listen, that's foolish. There's nothing virtuous about that. If God has blessed you with a warm meal, why throw that in the garbage? Embrace the warm meal. Thank God for it. It may not be there tomorrow, and you'll still thank God. That's what we love God whether we have or we have not. As long as we have him, we're good. We'll make it. But, those are the kind of things we have to work through. I'm taking a drink of my coffee again. It's very good. Ah, man, that's yummy. I want to drink it before it gets too cold, right? Okay, so we're going to be opening up the scriptures on the screen here and following along, looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and just learning love. Love will teach us this balance that the scriptures clearly instruct, this balance. We are currently streaming live on the Added Souls Facebook page, on my YouTube channel, and on my Rumble channel. We'll see how that functions. We'll see where or how. We'll see how things go. Okay, if there is potential, we'll work forward. If not, we may extinguish and change gears. We'll see how that all goes. I appreciate all of you tuning in from all those platforms, saying hi to our friends out there. Listen, you are certainly appreciated and you are loved, and I am thankful that you are sharing these links and participating with the material. It means a great deal to us. We're just a small group here wanting some encouragement and wanting to learn, right? And if you have questions, if there are certain things you'd like for us to look into, by all means, let it be known, and we'll try our best to get that done. Okay, so let me put up on the screen here the scripture at hand. There we go. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It is the King James Bible that's we're going to be reading from. And I also have access to some study tools that will allow us to look at the descriptive nature of the words if we need to, and also kind of from its original dialect from the Greek language. And we'll see how that goes. Okay. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. We want to get the whole context to it as well. So we're going to read through the chapter itself. And as a running commentary, we want to find practical application to it all. Practical application to it all. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, messengers, right? And have not charity, love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And that's the nature of the King James in its descriptive form. In my New American Standard, it would say, if I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I've become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. Now we are reading words from an age of supernatural activity. God had permitted the age of supernatural occurrence to reveal itself in the physical realm, from the spiritual element to the physical realm, for a given period of time. It had an expiration date, and it was permitted for a given amount of time for the purpose of confirming the Word of God. And that, of course, you can read in Mark chapter 16, I believe, near the end of the chapter, if I'm not mistaken, and various other locations in the Scriptures that instruct that reality, thy word is truth. Truth is reality. It sets us free from the bondage of a myth or misguided religious thoughts or experiences, and it sobers us to the accuracy of the Scriptures, giving us a greater faith in God and His mind and His authority, His power. So we are speaking here or reading inspired words in an age where supernatural activities were permitted. And they were permitted for a time, for a purpose. The purpose was to confirm the Word. Once the Word had been completely confirmed and fulfilled, then the scaffolding, if you will, could be brought down. The house has been built. There is no need for the scaffolding to remain there. We remove the scaffolding, right? So that's the objective absolute. That's the reality of the teaching, and it is no doubt, I know, contrary and in opposition to the ocean of religious error out there. But nonetheless, fact is fact. It is defendable in an honorable court of law. It is tangible. We can hold it. If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, messengers, but do not have love, do not have charity, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And it's very important for you and I to truly understand the profound nature of what Paul is saying to his brethren in Corinth here. You may have access to speaking various languages, right? You may have become the recipient of miraculous power, the recipient of the gift of the Holy Spirit, right? You may have received this blessing for its intent purpose, and within this blessing, you now miraculously can speak all sorts of known languages without having been educated in them. The gift of the Holy Spirit within your mind, not possessing you, not taking away your free will, but yet governing your thoughts, if you will, to that degree, permitted you supernaturally to speak in various known languages. And it's interesting because that would have been seen, no doubt, as something quite memorable and noteworthy in a brother or sister having the ability to speak in all sorts of different languages. Languages not educated in. For instance, I've never been educated in the Japanese language, the Chinese language, the Russian language. And if at this very moment I begin to speak it so fluently that I even speak it in its dialect with its slang, and that you could not tell the difference, that you could hear it in your own language, in your own dialect from me, and be like, how does this man speak our language? He must have been educated into it. No, I never have. See, that kind of element, if you will, would have been seen as, whoa, something to pay attention to, something quite memorable, something quite profound and powerful is happening here. Why are they speaking? How can they be speaking in these languages? Like, how do they know this? How are they able to do this? Well, even if you are capable of speaking in such ways, which again is quite the awestruck moment for the audience hearing you speak in their dialect, knowing that you are not even from their region or from their continent, their country. You go on YouTube, and you'll find channels of individuals who purposely, from Canada or America, that go to China, that go to Russia, that go to various other locations in the world, and purposely go into locations in that continent to speak their language and see their reaction. Right? Somewhere's in China, this Caucasian male from America is sitting there among Chinese people, and he starts to speak Chinese. Well, you see the reaction of the Chinese people, like, oh, how is he speaking our language? He's from America, or he's from Canada. Don't they speak French or English or whatever? So you can see, to a lower measurement, no doubt, how that is now in the educational path, not in the miraculous path, in the educational path. But you go back into the first century with those who could have spoken all these languages without an educational path. They were given it by the gift of the Holy Spirit. It was a miraculous supernatural ability that was permitted them for the great purpose of confirming the word. And the people must have been like, whoa, this is quite the sight to see, or to hear, if you will, right? It must have been tremendous for them to experience. Well, guess what? Even if they had that ability, but they did not have love, they fall in a deficit. I am become a sounding brass, or a tinkling cymbal, a noisy gong, a clanging cymbal. It brings much attention to itself. Wow, look at what he's doing. But it does not provide. It does not provide growth or fruitfulness. It does not provide kindness. It simply draws attention to itself. So even if you do have that power to speak in known languages, which would have been a tremendous moment to experience in a community, quite memorable. I assure you, individuals of the first century passed that on to their children, that they experienced that moment with men who were not educated in these languages, capable of speaking these languages very fluently, even down to the science of its slang. Even to the science of its slang in its various districts. For instance, I am a French Acadian. That is my culture, that is my kind, that is my people. Born and raised French Acadian. Well, even in my community, our form of French Acadian is different than a 15-minute drive away in another community that was French Acadian, though with a different slang. Imagine being able to speak these educated and known languages, even to the science of their slang in different communities. It would have been memorable, yet useless, vain, idle, not productive, not fruitful. Why? It was not produced with the cooperation and combination of love. It's not that for that time and season, speaking in known languages was lawless. It wasn't. It was, and could have been, and was in many departments, no doubt, upright and proper and a blessing, but yet useless. So the sin was not that they could speak in known languages. The sin was that they did not have love with it. Again, you can have a Bible in your hand and you can know it very well. From the Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic, you can quote from Genesis chapter 1, every single word all the way through to Revelation. Impressive, very impressive, noteworthy, memorable, charming. Yet if you do not have love, if there is no charity, you're just drawing attention to yourself. You're doing it for the praise of men. You don't love me. You may be able to teach me very well the law, but you don't love me. You're not going to embrace me and minister to me. You're not going to care for me. You're not going to be hospitable to me. You're not going to be patient with me and suffer long with me. You're going to be heavy-handed and brash with me. You're going to condemn me. You're going to be very divisive. You're going to push me out. If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I've become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. So Paul is speaking of the potency that is found within those who can produce, or not produce, but participate within the permissibility of their supernatural abilities. Know what I'm saying? I'm taking a drink of coffee again. Yum, yum. So if I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I've become a noisy gong. And he also says now, if we kind of speak about the other portion here, which is of men and of angels. Angels. Think about that. That's quite powerful. That's quite memorable. That's noteworthy. You can speak words that are from an angelic location. Like, wow. You are a messenger from a divine source? Because angel, messenger, though I speak with the tongues of men and of messengers, and have not charity, if I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal? That's interesting. Of angels, of messengers, even if you are of a divine sourced messenger. You see how that could have us tempted to immediately surrender our thoughts to such a brother or sister who would have the message direct. I mean, we could fall prey to a deception here, a cunning deception. How so? Well, even if brother so-and-so has the ability to bring forth a message within the angelic portion, if it has no love, again, it will not produce. It will not produce. It will not be fruitful. It will not bring forth growth. It's not healthy. It's not that, again, law. It's not that it was a sin to speak in tongues or with the tongues of men, or to speak a message, if you will, that was from a divine source. The problem was the lack of charity and love found within the heart. And that becomes a sounding brass, a tinkling cymbal. It's a noisy gong. It certainly brings much attention to itself, but it produces nothing. That's why you have so many local assemblies. And again, maybe so many local is not the appropriate measurement here. You have some local assemblies who ultimately close the door. And in the hardness of their hearts, they blame the community. Well, nobody wants to hear the gospel anymore. That must be the case. Well, not necessarily. Well, we've been teaching the gospel. You have, but there's no love in your heart. You're not approachable. You are a heavy-handed, diatrophic, pharisaical gatekeeper. You're not approachable. You utilize intimidation and you utilize flattery for your own selfish gain. And then you push everyone out and the congregation dies. And within the hypocrisy of self-righteousness, these sorts are firmly convinced it must be everybody else's fault. Can't be them because they know the law, because they can speak with the tongues of men and the tongue and of angels. Yeah, but you have no charity. You have no love. You do not suffer long. You are not patient. You are driven by the lunacy of corrupt behavioral delinquency, jealousy and greed, malicious, pride, control. And that's what happens. And they are in the deficit of understanding what took place. And so they create within themselves a hardened heart. It must be everyone else's fault why we have to close the doors. No, it really isn't. It's because you've ruined your reputation in the community. Nobody wants to come close to you. You've brought reproach to the name of Christ. Christ don't live in that house anymore. You've pushed him out. You've taken preeminence. You've taken control. You've become a noisy gong, a clanging cymbal. You've now been marked by the brotherhood. We've all withdrawn from you. We know who you are. See, we don't want to fall prey to that category, do we? We want to be balanced and seasoned. Paul is speaking something quite profound, and if you and I are paying attention to the information and we are willing to hear it properly, we will change for the greater good. So he continues in verse 2. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have no charity, I am nothing. Whoa, let's take our time with this again. There's a lot being said here. What's the rush? Relax. Take a seat. Stick around. We're learning stuff together. And though I have the gift of prophecy, in the New American Standard, it would say, if I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. Paul's saying in simplicity, if you have all these good things, all these good abilities, But yet, in the deficit of love, really, you're useless. You're a noisy gong, a clanging cymbal. You are nothing. Now that's, whew. Well, how can I be nothing if I have the ability to speak the tongues of men and of angels, and I have the ability of prophecy and to understand all mysteries, and I have all knowledge, and I have all these wonderful, memorable, powerful things? How can I be nothing but a bunch of noise and useless and nothing? I mean, see, that's the cunning nature at times that you and I have to learn to discern. Just because a brother or sister is scholarly, just because they know the law very well and teach it with great charm, very attractive, doesn't make them fruitful, doesn't make them healthy and growing, doesn't make them approachable. Love, it needs to be in cooperation, association with, embraced with love. Even if you are capable of understanding and seeing and speaking things to come with great precision, even if you hold all knowledge of inspired history, each account and name, its original language, you can speak it fluently, almost as if you were born with this sort of knowledge. And even if you have such a trust and faith, capable of moving mountains, yet you have no charity, you are nothing. We are nothing without love, without charity. You can build and create the most prestige, powerful educational locations and institutions. You can build powerful corporation. You can have all sorts of influence in socio-political affairs, perhaps geopolitical powers. You can be and do all sorts of things in this life that God has blessed us with. But if it does not have charity or love, it is a failure before the great I Am, the Ancient of Days. We are failures. We have the most respected Bible school. We are sending all our brethren to our Bible school, but we are not producing love. We're in a deficit. We are nothing. We are speaking of a profound power. Look at how Paul delivers the information through the inspiration. These are powerful things to have, and they would have been seen as such in the community. And they could have been easily persuaded. The citizenry, the individuals, the crowds, the community could have been easily persuaded to inherently believe that because these men can speak with the tongues, can speak in the manner of messengers, and can produce prophecy and knowledge and faith, that they must be useful and they must be faithful. They must be heaven bound, if you will. They must be good and upright, and not necessarily so. Not necessarily so. Well, how can we know then? If this man is in front of me, capable of speaking in different known languages, and he's speaking divine, angelic information, and he can prophesy with great accuracy, and he knows, like, he has this knowledge that is above and beyond what nature produces here. It's supernatural, and he has this magnificent faith that creates institution and industry and organization, and he has all these things. How am I supposed? How am I supposed to know that he's useless, or he's nothing, or he's a clanging cymbal, or... Ye shall know them by their fruits. That's how you discern the cunning deceit. What are they producing, though? Militant, heavy-handed, self-righteous hypocrites who infiltrate every community and destroy? Do they push everyone away? Do they bring reproach to the house of our Lord? Do they travel to and forth around the world to create an individual twice the child of Satan? What? Ye shall know them by their fruits. He continues, and I appreciate your kind attention together as we are reading through this. I'm going to take another drink of the coffee here, the yummy coffee. Yum, yum. He says in verse 3 of the same chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Wait, what? Wait a minute now. What? What's going on here? Well, listen. You may have the ability to produce, or not to produce, again, to participate in. You've been blessed with the ability to participate in supernatural activities, such as speaking in known languages, such as having angelic messages to deliver, such as knowing prophetical activities and accomplishments in the days ahead, having such a powerful intellectual mind that you recognize all knowledge and all mysteries revealed to you. And now Paul goes into the realm of charity, even to benevolence, if you will, to the realm of benevolence. If you have all these things, yet do not have charity, do not have love, it profiteth nothing. It doesn't produce. It's not fruitful. It's not producing anything. The New American Standard would say it this way: and if I give all my possessions to feed the poor, benevolently, and if I surrender my body to be burned, giving up my life in sacrifice, but I don't have love, I don't have charity, it profits me nothing to benevolently give everything, to give my own life. Doesn't produce anything. Matter of fact, what a waste. Isn't that tragic? Some of our brethren, hardened of heart, go through life just like that. Just like that. They are benevolently involved. They give everything. They give their own lives, willingly so. But they have no love. They truly, within the motive of their hearts, find no location in which they have compassion for their fellow man. Charity. It's all an outward masquerade. Again, remember what Jesus was saying to the people in Matthew, I think, chapter 6, if I'm not mistaken. He was telling them, listen, the offense God has towards you is not that you've been keeping the law. That is good. That is pleasing to God, that you obey and follow the instructions of the law, and to do so accurately. That is pleasing to God. That's not the problem here. The issue, the offense, is not you keeping the law. The problem here, the issue, is the motive of your heart, the location in which your heart is found in deficit. In other words, Yes, I know it's good that you keep the law and do not physically, literally, have an adulterous relationship against your wife. Like, listen to me. It is good that you don't cheat on your wife or your husband. That's keeping the law. That's a good thing. That's pleasing to God, that you do not cheat on your husband or wife. Good thing. Check mark. Good. Here's the problem. You're doing it from the corruption of a delinquent behavior, a delinquent motive. What do you mean? Well, you can outwardly say, I keep the law. I've never cheated on my husband or my wife. I've never explicitly had literal, physical, sexual intercourse with another male or female that was not my husband or wife. I've never done that. See, I keep the law. Yes, and that's good. That's pleasing to God. It's a good thing you do that. You ought not to cheat on your husbands and wives. But here's the problem. It goes deeper. It's more profound than you think. What do you mean? Your heart's not in the right place. What? When you look at other males and females, as a married man, as a married woman, you look at other males and females out there, you lust for them sexually, and therein produce an act of lawlessness within your heart. The heart is the problem. Wait, what? Yeah, the heart is the problem. Change your heart. Keep being pleasing to God with the law. Don't cheat on your husbands and wives, outwardly, physically, explicitly, but don't cheat on them either within your heart. Now, that's a difficult one, isn't it? It is. Why? Because you and I are human beings. There's no sin in finding a man or a woman attractive. A married man can see another woman out there in the community and within his thoughts say, well, she's an attractive woman. That doesn't make one lawless or condemned. It's when you permit the persuasion of that thought to snare you in the temptation of the flesh, where you begin to have a lust, a luring towards, a fever, an excitement that is not permissible, and having visual thought of sexual engagements with a woman or a man that you're not married to. It's a matter of the heart. So though you are indeed capable of producing benevolent action, and that is pleasing to God, that we are benevolent to the needy, that's not a problem. The problem is if it is not within the motive of pure intent and passion for the Messiah in his name, then we are in great deficit. It profits me nothing. It's not productive. It's not fruitful. It may swell like an infection, swollen, but it does not truly find growth, does not build, does not edify. Do we understand that? Does that not make sense? A sense in which you and I should have in common, by the way. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, I mean, can you imagine the tremendous moment in which one would say, I've given all of my finances, I've given all of my materialistic belongings, and I've even given my own life. I've lost everything for this moment. But it was not done so with the production of charity, of love. It was vain. It was useless. It's a noisy gong, a clanging cymbal. It is nothing. It produces nothing. It has no profit. There is no return on this investment. It may masquerade itself outwardly as profitable, beneficial, and that is the deceit, the coy and cunning manipulation of its kind. But it does not truly produce before God's law and love. You see, there is a balance to this. it must have law and love. Many congregations, local assemblies, produce and have the ability for all sorts of good things. But if the motive behind it, if within the heart of its leadership, its discipline within the membership is not with love and charity, it will fail upon the day of justice, the great and powerful day. The trumpets sound, the sky opens, the trumpets sound, and the age of the eternal realm is now upon us forever. Those who produced law and love, or participated in, produced is not necessarily the proper word for its teaching. It's important for us to recognize this. Now, we've made it through verse 3, right? But tomorrow we enter into the descriptive realm of love, and how to be, how we should, if you will, and pay attention here. We ought to learn the scriptures to the best of our ability. We should educate ourselves in the Bible. It is a necessity of our faith. We have to read it, we have to study it, we have to believe it, and we have to live by it. We have to know it. We have to know it very well, scholarly so, if possible. Rightly handled at all times. We need to know the Bible. We need to be a people of forgiveness, compassion, embrace. We need to be able to produce all that is fruitful to the Master's greater good and local assembly. But it cannot be achieved if we do not have love and charity. Love is more than just knowing the gospel academically. It's more than an academic exercise or pursuit. It has to be. It is. If we seek to have a flourishing local assembly, tapping into the information we are sharing, you and I, through the inspired writ, is of an objective, absolute necessity. It will determine the longevity of His Majesty's local assembly in a community. Those who do not understand and embrace love fall prey to the lunacy of lawlessness. And I find myself saddened by brethren who may not necessarily have a malicious heart, perhaps an immature heart, a misguided or ignorant heart, who fall prey to the intimidation and flattery and very cunning deceit of the Pharisaical kind, leading now a toxic congregation, that they fall prey to it and are submissive to it, living in constant anxiety and fear, fearful of speaking, fearful of sharing faith, fearful of saying and doing anything because, well, they'll be immediately condemned and thrown out. We've seen that in the accounts of the gospel. Remember the man who was blessed with sight? If he was not willing to withdraw himself from the Christ, he would be thrown out of the congregation. It's important for us to have this balance, to know this insight, to hold dear to this wisdom. If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels but don't have love, I've become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. What did James chapter 2 teach? Right? What does James express within the inspired guidance? Listen, if your faith is not producing It's dead. It's dead. It's nothing. It's a noisy gong. It's a clanging cymbal. Clinging cymbal. Friends, we must tap into the descriptive nature of love. And we're going to be doing that tomorrow, 8 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time, streaming live here on our Facebook page. On our Facebook page, consequently, here on Added Souls, Facebook no longer permits an archived portion of our live streams. In other words, this live stream is going to be deleted permanently in 30 days. But have no fear, if you're following us on my Rumble channel or on my YouTube channel, they are archived there for as long as the platform is active, no doubt. And you can access them over there and share them with friends or family whom you think might seek to follow with the session. But we'll go live again tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Lord willing, 8 a.m., and we'll look at verse 4, 5, 6, and 7, and verse 8 maybe in its initial format, and we might keep our Thursday for the rest of the chapter. So kind of a 3-part series, if you will, this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Today we did verse 1 through 3, tomorrow 4 through 8, or 8a, if you will, and then Thursday we'll do 8b through verse 13 of 1 Corinthians. Is that okay? I truly appreciate your kind attention and all the comments I'll be reading afterwards. It is appreciated. You are loved. There is purpose in this life, and we must learn, you and I, to be balanced with law and love. In a community, it will be most powerful. We here are members of the East Coast Church of Christ. You can check out the .ca, East Coast Church of Christ.ca. If you are seeking to learn along with us, you'd be our honored guest. We'd love to have you. We have visitors every week, guests every week. We are a flourishing congregation. It started with 5 souls back in 2022, and we are now, I think, close to 65, if my last count, close to 65 here today in 2026. And moving forward, a compassionate family, a family that is united and loving and kind and healing. You are seeking another chapter to your life. Well, come be with us. You do not need to remain in a toxic location, submissive to lawless lunacy. You do not need to remain alone or isolated or fearful. You can be with us. You will not be unrighteously judged. You will not be condemned. You will be warmly embraced and forgiven. A family, a future, ancestral lineage. The East Coast congregation has little babies, children, toddlers, teens, young adults, married couples, singles, you name it. We have activities throughout the months, social activities. We gather together on Wednesday evenings for study sessions, on Friday evenings for study sessions. We have Saturday socials. We have Sunday worship, Sunday studies, Sunday fellowship meals every Sunday. It's an active congregation, a loving congregation. And you and I, we don't want to fall prey to the hateful world out there. Its fallen ways. It's crazy it's crazy out there. It's crazy out there. Come find balance. Come find reason. Come find answers to the questions. And with us, together, learn the truth. The truth. It sets us free. It sets us free from the bondage and oppression of lawlessness and lunacy and myth and lie. It sets us free. It's such a burden being lifted at Calvary. His burden is light. His yoke is easy. His burden is light. All right, my friends, time to go. We've been rolling here on this session for an hour and about 10 minutes. Stay focused and stay positive. And for our brethren who are seeking a good work to support, please consider us. Please consider the MyA family and what we do over here. And reach out to us. We have to build that support. Okay, that's it. Till tomorrow. Peace out.